Now, the Independent Electoral Commission faces an uphill task in the lead up to the local government elections on the 1st of November. You've got COVID-19, that pandemic. The IEC must also reopen the candidate registration lists and still ensure that it remains a credible institution. So joining me in studio is the IEC chairperson, Glen Mashinini. Mr. Mashinini, thank you so much for making time. I know this is a hectic period for you guys at the IEC.
Thank you, Clement, for the opportunity.
I want us to start with what happened today. Several parties making declarations as part of the Political Party Funding Act. Are you satisfied so far as the IEC? I see there's only 3 of the parties that made declarations.
Yes, no, we're happy because this is the first time since the Act, and so we were giving our first quarter report, and so far so good.
It's not a slow start though. Only 3 with so many parties we have, and many of them actually committed that they will be complying with the Act.
No, we hope that most of those who did receive the donations have done so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the 1st of November is election day. The minister proclaiming the date yesterday. What are the processes that are now going to unfold on your part as the IEC?
Well, I think the most important thing is now following the electoral timetable. And it entails a number of steps that have to be met, including the registration that has to take place, and the candidates' nominations, as well as the verification of those the lists, and being in a position to certify the voters' roll. And along that, we would be rolling out the logistics and electoral operational matters all the way up until we conduct the elections. There's recruitment to be undertaken. There's the facilities and the venues. It's an expansive operational exercise now that has to be that has to unfold, leading to us finally declaring of the results after the elections. And within that also there's things like the voting and the counting and so on and so forth.
Yeah. This declaration comes at the time as the DA filed papers in the Constitutional Court. You know that they're challenging your decision as the IEC to reopen the candidate nomination. And they argue that, and I quote here, reopening the candidate nomination process was not necessary to accommodate new voters who wanted to stand for office because political parties were aware from May that the voters' roll would close on the 3rd of August. You have taken a legal opinion that advised you that it's better to open the candidates list. Are you able to share with us the legal opinion that guided your approach?
Let me put it this way, Clement, that I think it is best that I stick to my craft, which is I'm a technocrat. So the administrative side of the whole process is, and the understanding that I have is that we are dealing with the interpretation here. And for us as the institution, we have a larger responsibility in ensuring the integrity of the institution, the integrity of our operations, and the outcomes that we deliver. So in this situation, we are acting and will continue to act on the basis of the advice that is before us. But one is quite what you call conversant to that. In the interpretation, there is a narrow view which may also be exclusionary, and there is a broader view which may be inclusive and probably, from our point of view, enable an optimum freeness and fairness. Now, either direction that the Commission would have decided, the matter would have gone to the courts. What we are keen to see now, technocratically, is that let's have the issue now bedded. So the sooner it is dealt with, the clearer is the way going forward. But we continue to prepare as the order of the Constitutional Court, because we as a Chapter 9 institution, our duty is to discharge our mandate, and including the strengthening of the democracy.
Yeah.
So we believe the process is underway, and we've indicated that we will abide by the order of the Concord, and we are expediting that as we speak.
How is it going to work administratively, and are you not opening yourself up to an administrative burden that you actually try to run away from when you indicated in your court papers in the Constitutional Court that you already have a tight deadline? So if you extend the submission of candidates, that would frustrate you administratively. Nothing has changed so far. So are you worried about this frustrating you administratively like you indicated in court?
Look, what we did when we approached the court, we tabled the, what one would say, based on the probability of risks that were before us. We tabled the issues and the matters. The court has now issued an order, and for us is to implement it. So, yes, it is a mammoth task. It's a truncated timetable where we are moving from about 84 days of the electoral timetable to about 42 days. So it means it's now hands on deck, 24/7 for the Electoral Commission. But what is important here, because of the narrative that is going around, is to actually reiterate our full confidence as the Electoral Commission and ensure all South Africans and that we are comfortable and confident that we will discharge our duty. And we also want to send a message to the families of our employees and to our employees throughout the length and the breadth of the country that now our national task and duty is before us, and let's rise to that challenge. And we are very much confident that we will be able. We have an institution that ranks among the top, among its peers worldwide. So we continue to be second to none. We have a full confidence as the commissioners that our team will rise to the challenge.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to the issue of the credibility, because I feel since I started covering elections in the shortest period of time, because I'm not that old, it's the first time that I see the IEC facing the kind of credibility questions that it's currently facing. We'll get to that shortly. You said that, yes, it may be tight administratively, but the question I want to ask is the impact it's going to have on the logistics of the elections management process. Is it going to make that process vulnerable? Is it going to have an impact as you open the candidate list and it's going to be a tight rush? Is it going to have an impact on the logistics of the elections management process?
I think it is doable, but it's not going to be easy. But we believe we should be able to rise to that particular task. Anyway, I don't think there's any much choice. We have much choice now. We've shortened the days it would take to undertake those exercises, which means it's a shorter time frame, and it will be compact, but all the measures and the steps that have to be observed, we have to adhere with the timetable, because any flaws or mistakes on the timetable can have an impact ultimately also on the outcomes of the work that is before us.
Yeah.
But we are confident about the technocratic and technical capability of this institution. I mean, it's a tried and tested team of officials.
Yeah. So obviously, you know that this is going to benefit the ANC disproportionately. And this is perhaps what has opened the window to people criticizing the IEC and saying that it's been captured by the ANC. As the IEC, how are you going to restore that credibility? Because it's not even the question of whether you are indeed captured by the ANC or not. You have to be seen to be credible, seen to be independent. So even if people start asking questions around your credibility and your independence, you can't afford that. How are you planning on restoring that credibility and independence that you've always been known for?
Perhaps, Clement, we should ask the first question when you say obviously, as to is the obvious as you say?
What do you mean?
When you say obviously...
Obviously, you must be seen to be independent.
No, that this is what you call perceived in a particular way. And I'm saying that obvious is questionable. And why I'm saying that?
Yeah. Maybe explain if it's not obvious that the ANC is the one that's going to benefit disproportionately from you opening the candidates list. They're the biggest party that failed to meet the deadline.
Yes, but what we're saying is the issue that we had to determine is what are we required in law, and the person who benefits are all the political parties. Now the quantum of benefit and otherwise is not necessarily the determinant of our decision, and that's the basis.
But it's a consequence of your decision.
But the basis of our decision is that what advice we received, and we believe that the decision is lawful, and let's get on with the job. You know, so for us, the issue is, had all the political parties complied, would this be an issue?
But how many didn't comply?
And would we have had to make a different decision from the one that we've made?
But we're speaking about parties as if it's a whole lot of them that it didn't meet the deadline. So apart from the ANC and the UDM, who didn't meet deadline?
Well, the political parties that are in the PLC, other than the 3, 4 that have said no, the majority of them have supported, because they felt that this will enable them to actually to do what is right as far as the candidate's nomination process. So the majority, in terms of numbers, the majority of the political parties supported the IEC. But we do respect the view that there is another view, which is a narrow interpretation. And so we will leave that to the courts. But from where we are, this is a decision that had to be made regardless of the party or the political players. It was to open it up as we believe, based on the Constitution, that is our Chapter 19, that we, if we look at the election and the timetable, the process is about registration, and these are two sides of the same coin. The registration and the nomination, which enables the rights for those who are registered.
Then why don't you limit to that?
To stand for the office.
Yeah, why don't you limit to that, Mr. Mashinini? If really this is about those that are going to be registering on the 18th and the 19th, because they are eligible to stand for office, if it's about that, why don't you then allow those who are registering on the 18th and 19th to be the ones that register their candidates because they're eligible to stand, so that you don't do a wholesale reopening that now allows people like the African National Congress and the UDM who failed to meet deadline, failed to make their deposits on time, to use that opening now to try and make amends when they failed to meet the deadline that was stipulated way before.
Well, this is what we're saying. The matter is now before the courts. So,
but you could have chosen that option.
But our position will be tabled in full, the basis of how we arrive at the decision. Of course, as I said to you, there are two scenarios. There is a narrow scenario and there's a broader scenario. And the two scenarios will now be evaluated and we'll have a ruling from the courts.
Isn't this the fair?
And for us, that goes with the landscape that there will always be times when people do not see eye to eye, and there will be situations of different interpretation.
Yeah, but in terms of fairness, Mr. Mashinini, as the IEC, you need to be seen to be fair.
Yes.
And that's why I'm asking, should you not have chosen this option of saying, because we want to be fair, we don't want the African National Congress, which messed up, and the UDM and the other parties that didn't make enough effort to make their submissions on time. We don't want them to use the back door. So we're not going to make a wholesale reopening. But because we recognize that those registering on the 18th and 19th are eligible to stand, we're going to give them the opportunity to register. But it's only those that are going to register. Those that miss the deadline, they are being penalized by not being allowed to come back through the back door and bring their candidate lists. Isn't that fair?
If the decision had been the other way around, you would still be asking the same question. Because there would be those who say, is that fair? And so, as the matter stands now, let's allow the courts to make the determination.
Okay. Election day on Monday, that's on Monday, right, on the 1st. That's after the weekend, the 1st of November. It may affect the turnout. Are you worried about that? Also, the social distancing protocols, do you think you can pull it off in one day, or are you considering the 2-day? I don't know if that's applicable and even possible in terms of the law.
Well, this is why now we are out and I'm sitting here, is that it's time for voter education. Let's get our people to come out and come out in large numbers. And if people feel strongly about the issues that relate to service delivery, and they've got issues about who should represent them, this is the opportunity. We are appealing to all South Africans to come out in their large numbers and register their voice. And this is the opportunity now, since the date has now been set.
Okay, but and in terms of just vaccinations, as we wrap up, is there a plan to work with, and I don't know if they've contacted you yet, the health department, to use the registration weekend and voting day as a way to take the vaccines to the people? So working together to ensure those that are coming to vote or coming to register to vote are given the opportunity to also take the vaccine.
The plans are advanced in looking at the various way of us being in a position to encourage optimum vaccination, at the same time also having the drive for optimum registration, because there are many permeations of people that some have not registered, some are registered, others have moved. So all these different permeations are what affect what to call the voters, and at the same time we can see that the Department of Health is working very hard in the government to push for greater vaccination. So we urge everyone in our country so that they can come out and register, so that they are ready to participate in the elections come November the 1st.
Yeah, thank you so much for making time.
Okay.
And good luck. You're going to have a tough couple of weeks coming up. Really appreciate
thank you very much.
Making time. That is Glen Mashinini, who's the IEC chairperson. Now we're going to take